Hey everyone, this is my video blog for Cinema and Diversity. I'm Matthew Bergman, and I'm going to be talking about basically just what the concept of white privilege is, and basically how I'm sort of affected by it, but really how I view it as both a film production major and as a self-described decent human being. So here goes. So basically, when I think of white privilege, I usually think of not being discriminated against because I live in a predominantly Caucasian run country. I mean, you basically just have to look at Congress and all that stuff and realize that about 90% of pretty much any elected official in America is white, and pretty much a lot more of those are men. So it really falls under the demographic of if you're a white man in America, then you pretty much already have the upper hand, which unfortunately is true because that doesn't really give a lot of other people opportunities for positions in power. But yeah, I mean, basically my family, we grew up in sort of middle upper class, I guess, and we lived a pretty decent life. We didn't really have any conflicts with racial prejudices or anything like that. White privilege more has to do, in my life, with sort of not worrying about what other people think of me because of my race, and more of just worrying about what other people think of me because of what I do. And I mean, it's not really sort of you get the feeling that, I mean, basically living in Keene State or going to Keene State for college, I can't really count a lot of people who are not white here. This isn't really a diverse school per se, but I mean yeah, it's not really a diverse school, but it's pretty much I don't know if that's just the area or whatnot, but it's basically this isn't exactly the richest area in the country, but I mean, New Hampshire does have a reputation for being one of the more conservative states in New England, so I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it, but we also live sort of not in the city, but more around sort of the country, or sort of maybe it would be in the middle of nowhere had it not been for the college and for Jumanji actually being filmed in Keene, which basically, in my opinion, put it on the map, but whatever. Basically, in short, white privilege for me is going around the world as a human being and not being worried about whether or not people will judge you solely based on something you can't control. Now, for something like white privilege in cinema or TV shows, basically, you're never going to see as many black protagonists as white protagonists, and if a black person is in a movie, then they're usually tossed down for the sidelines to fulfill the white character's motivation. So, for example, in Star Wars, for example, there's only one black person in the entire film, and that's Lando, and he's more of a sidekick rather than any of the main characters. Gladiator, there's this huge hulking black guy, and he's sort of a side character for Russell Crowe's character. Another one, Dungeons and Dragons, where the black character is sort of really tossed out for the sidelines, and also maybe the new Star Trek movie. I mean especially a woman black character, she's one of the main characters, but she's not the focus, she's not the main character in the film. I mean, that's sort of just very subtle, but when films sort of I mean, and that's kind of okay because it's sort of it's just part of the story, and you need to have this character be the main character because it fits the story, but, and so that doesn't really irk me that much, but coming to think of it, when you see characters being portrayed just by their race, So, for example, you'll see a movie where like all of the black people are like really ghetto-ish, I guess, and then like all of the Asians have like really like overdrawn accents. I mean, probably the most prominent example of this would have to be in South Park, and don't get me wrong, I love South Park because I think it's a hilarious show, but like a lot of the stuff in that show is pretty offensive. I mean, they play it all for laughs, and like, basically we laugh at things that are sort of wrong and unfortunate, like it's actually sort of like built into our bodies because it's a defense mechanism. So I'm not sure if that's sort of like what South Park is trying to capitalize on. I mean, again, it's like sort of like goes back to the subject of white privilege, and they make fun of white people too in South Park. Don't get me wrong, like they make fun of everybody in there. Like you basically just don't see as much of it in a lot of American cinema because people really just want to see the white man thrive and be the best. I mean, like I don't really have a lot of like conflicts going around white privilege. It's sort of like the lack of conflict in my life that has happened is like sort of a little unfortunate if you can actually think about it like that. But sort of the lack of conflict has stopped me from really letting me experience this sort of thing that's happening in the world. So if I sort of wish I was exposed to it more and I sort of wish I was called out on it. The most I can really do as of now is like sort of get myself informed from this class and pretty much any other news things in general. I mean, this is coming from some dumb white kid, so I mean, what do I know? But I guess in order to like bring awareness to this problem and how it like doesn't let other people get the same benefits and the same societal benefits as us. In order to bring light to that issue, if you are a dumb white kid like me, then just be aware of it and like just be you, but just know, that's it.